What I'm about to share with you will fundamentally alter how you understand your existence. The moment you grasp this principle, everything you thought you knew about reality becomes obsolete. Here's the radical truth. The world around you exists in a state of pure potential until the precise moment you choose to acknowledge it. Your environment isn't concrete. It isn't predetermined, and it certainly isn't sitting there waiting for you to decode its mysteries. Instead, it's suspended in possibility, waiting for your conscious awareness to bring it into being. This concept transcends mystical philosophy. It's rooted in cutting-edge quantum mechanics. The groundbreaking double-slit experiment revealed something that shattered our understanding of reality. When subatomic particles moved through space unobserved, they exhibited wave-like properties, existing simultaneously in countless potential states across a spectrum of possibilities. However, the instant a conscious observer focused their attention on these particles, something extraordinary occurred. The waves immediately collapsed into definite particles with specific locations and properties. The mere act of conscious observation fundamentally transformed the nature of reality itself. This discovery reveals a startling truth. You are far from being a helpless bystander in the cosmic drama. You weren't placed here to endure a predetermined storyline written by forces beyond your control. You are the conscious director of the quantum theater of existence. You possess the power to collapse infinite potential into singular, concrete experiences through the focused application of your awareness. But here's what most people don't understand about this process. The collapse from possibility into reality doesn't happen randomly or through wishful thinking. It follows specific quantum principles that govern how consciousness interacts with the field of potential. When quantum physicists study this phenomenon in laboratories, they observe that the act of measurement, which is really an act of focused attention, doesn't just reveal what was already there. It actually determines what becomes real from a sea of infinite possibilities. Think about this in terms of your daily life. Right now, countless versions of your future exist simultaneously in the quantum field. There's a timeline where you're living your dream life, another where you're stuck in current patterns, and infinite variations between them. The question isn't whether these possibilities exist. Quantum mechanics confirms they do. The question is which one you'll collapse into reality through your consistent observation. This is where most people get trapped. They think they're observing reality objectively, but what they're actually doing is selecting which version of reality becomes their experience. When you wake up and immediately check your problems, review your limitations, and reinforce your current story, you're not just witnessing what is, you're actively choosing what continues to be. You're casting a vote for that specific timeline to remain your reality. Yet the majority of humanity operates under the illusion that their circumstances are fixed and unchangeable. Day after day, they engage in identical thought patterns, trigger the same emotional responses, and perpetuate familiar behavioral cycles. They continuously focus their attention on their current situation, and through this repetitive observation, they unconsciously recreate the same reality endlessly. This isn't happening because they desire it, but because they haven't discovered how to redirect their perceptual lens. But imagine if you possessed this knowledge. What would happen if you ceased viewing your existence through filters of scarcity and began observing with purposeful intention, unwavering trust, and genuine wonder? What if rather than fixating on what's absent, you trained yourself to perceive unlimited potential? What if instead of dwelling on past disappointments, you started attuning to the future that's beckoning you forward? This represents the core invitation of conscious reality creation, and it begins in this very moment. Reality isn't something that occurs independently of you. It manifests directly through your participation. The quantum field, that invisible matrix of vibrational energy underlying all existence, pulses with unlimited possibilities. It doesn't respond to your verbal declarations or wishful thinking. Instead, it responds to what you consistently observe with focused energy, genuine emotion, and coherent intention. The field isn't processing your words, it's interpreting your energetic signature. So let me pose this crucial question. Where are you directing your conscious attention? Every single moment, your focus operates like a powerful spotlight, illuminating one possible version of reality while leaving others in darkness. Are you casting that light on anxiety, uncertainty, and limitation? Or are you directing it toward confidence, appreciation, and expansive vision? Here's a practical example that demonstrates this principle in action. Imagine two people experiencing the exact same challenging situation. Let's say a job loss. Person A observes this event through the lens of limitation, focusing on financial fears, rejection, and scarcity. They emotionally engage with thoughts of, "Why me?" and "I'll never find something better." Person B observes the same event through the lens of possibility, focusing on new opportunities, growth, and expansion. They emotionally engage with thoughts of what wants to emerge, and this is redirecting me towards something greater. Both people experienced identical external circumstances, but they're observing completely different realities. Person A is collapsing a timeline of struggle and limitation into their experience. Person B is collapsing a timeline of opportunity and expansion. The quantum field responds to both with perfect precision, delivering experiences that match their sustained observation. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about understanding that your observation literally determines which quantum possibility becomes your lived reality. The field doesn't judge which observation is better or worse. It simply responds to whatever you consistently focus on with emotional intensity. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract abundance while others struggle despite working hard. It's not about worthiness or luck. It's about which timeline they're consistently observing into existence. Most individuals attempt to transform their circumstances by manipulating external conditions. But authentic transformation, genuine reality shifting, occurs when you revolutionize what you choose to consciously observe. Each time you emotionally invest in a particular thought, you're actively observing it into existence. When you repeatedly focus on what's malfunctioning in your life, you're feeding those patterns with your life force energy, making them increasingly substantial. Conversely, every time you attune to elevated possibilities, even when they haven't manifested yet, you draw them closer to physical expression. You initiate the quantum process of collapsing potential into form. This isn't wishful thinking or New Age fantasy. It's measurable quantum science. As neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza demonstrates, the location where you place your conscious attention determines where you direct your energy, and that energy becomes the instruction manual for the quantum field. Not your physical efforts, not your struggles, but your awareness and your state of being. This understanding means you don't need to force your way into a transformed existence. You simply need to become the observer who perceives a new reality already taking shape. You must develop trust that reality isn't rigid. It's malleable, responsive, and exquisitely sensitive to the quality of your focus. Given that everything in your environment is waiting to be observed into concrete existence, What will you choose to perceive next? This marks the beginning of an entirely new way of living. Not as someone hoping external circumstances will change, but as someone consciously choosing how to interact with the field of possibilities, moment by moment, as an aware observer and intentional creator. Let this be your starting point, because what unfolds next will permanently transform how you perceive, feel, and shape your reality. Your awareness isn't limited to your physical brain. It transcends the boundaries of space, time, and circumstance. It serves as the invisible architect of reality, the quiet, creative intelligence that molds form from the field of pure potential. The external world you perceive isn't the source of your internal experience. It's the mirror reflection of it. And this reflection process begins long before any physical action or event takes place. Pioneering researchers like Dr. Joe Dispenza, physicist Amit Goswami, and thought leader Bob Proctor have dedicated decades to connecting quantum physics with spiritual understanding, demonstrating that consciousness is the primary force and physical matter is secondary. Amit Goswami explicitly declared, "Consciousness is the foundation of reality, not the reverse." This revolutionary perspective completely overturns conventional understanding about existence. It transforms you from a passive witness into an empowered creator. But what does this actually look like in practice? It means your focused intention and deliberate attention begin converting waveform possibilities into particle realities. What you observe with sustained awareness materializes into physical form. The field surrounding you remains neutral, but your consciousness provides direction. Your attention gives it structure and meaning. In quantum mechanics, particles exist as waves of probability until the moment of observation. In the realm of human creation, your attention serves as the observing mechanism. It doesn't require physical action. It requires conscious presence. It doesn't demand specific techniques. It demands internal coherence. It doesn't rely on external circumstances. It depends on inner alignment and harmony. When your thoughts unite with feeling, when emotion becomes fused with clear intention, consciousness imprints a detailed blueprint onto the quantum field. This blueprint becomes the silent directive that begins restructuring your internal landscape and eventually expresses itself outwardly in physical form. Some refer to this as goal setting or manifestation work. Others simply call it quantum creation in action. But there's a crucial aspect of this process that most manifestation teachings miss entirely. The quantum field doesn't just respond to your conscious intentions, it responds to your unconscious patterns as well. In fact, your unconscious programming often has more influence over your reality than your conscious desires because it operates 24/7, while your conscious focus might only be directed for minutes each day. This is why people can visualize abundance for 20 minutes each morning but still live in financial struggle. Their conscious mind is observing prosperity, but their unconscious mind is observing lack, unworthiness, and scarcity for the remaining 23 hours and 40 minutes. The quantum field responds to the dominant signal, which is usually the unconscious programming running in the background. Understanding this changes everything about how you approach reality creation. It's not enough to occasionally focus on what you want. You need to become aware of what you're unconsciously observing throughout the day. Those automatic thoughts, those habitual emotional reactions, those familiar story loops. They're all acts of observation that are actively shaping your reality. This is where the practice becomes more sophisticated. You're not just learning to focus on what you want. You're learning to become conscious of the unconscious patterns that have been quietly directing your life. You're developing the ability to catch yourself in the act of observing limitations and gently redirect your attention toward possibilities. This is where ancient spiritual practices intersect with modern scientific observation. Joe Dispenza documents measurable changes in brainwave patterns, biological processes, and electromagnetic fields when individuals maintain coherent intention paired with authentic emotion. Bob Proctor emphasizes that it's not your surface thoughts that create reality. It's the energetic force behind your thoughts. It's not your spoken desires, but the sustained state that supports them. Consciousness operates beyond personal boundaries. It's non-local in nature. This means your awareness can influence realities across distance and even before things manifest in physical form. You don't need physical proximity. You need focused presence. You don't need external approval. You need unwavering inner certainty. This represents the paradigm shift that changes everything. The external world isn't the cause of your experience, it's the result. Your consciousness serves as the foundation, the fertile soil, and the seed of creation. The quantum field provides the nourishing ground, and your observation is the gentle catalyst that allows potential to bloom into reality. So when you next feel helpless or powerless, remember this truth. You are anything but powerless. You are an infinitely creative being, a conscious force shaping reality through the precision of your attention and the clarity of your internal state. This is your invitation right now, to pause, to breathe deeply, to bring awareness to your inner landscape, to recognize that consciousness isn't passive but profoundly creative, and that the reality you experience isn't simply happening to you, it's emerging through your participation. Creation doesn't originate from struggle. It begins with intentional focus. In every moment, your existence is being molded by what you're consistently giving your energy to. Not what you claim to desire, not what you occasionally hope for, but what you habitually observe, react to, and emotionally engage with. Attention isn't neutral, it's magnetically powerful. Every moment you're conscious, you're calibrating your internal frequency, and that frequency transmits instructions to the quantum field. Your attention functions as an instrument more potent than physical effort, determination, or self-control. Why? Because energy follows awareness. Wherever your attention dwells, your energy accumulates, intensifies, and begins sculpting your field into tangible form. This explains why identical thoughts generate identical emotions, which trigger identical choices, which maintain identical realities. This isn't merely a metaphor, it's energetic physics in action. Your emotional focus determines the vibrational signature of your field. Your thoughts don't simply describe your experience. They activate corresponding timelines and possibilities. If you're finding this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more consciousness-expanding content. Therefore, when you persistently focus on what's broken, what's absent, or what causes pain, the quantum field responds not through judgment, but through faithful reflection. If you continue observing your present circumstances as simply the way things are, you unconsciously strengthen and perpetuate them. Your internal state of observation becomes the template for what the universe constructs next. You look at current conditions, emotionally react, and through this cycle, you observe the same patterns again. Identical input creates identical output. However, when you redirect your attention toward fresh possibilities aligned with your highest vision and engage with emotional presence, you begin collapsing an alternative version of reality. You stop replaying past patterns and start resonating with future potentials. This is the secret that few are willing to practice with dedication. ceasing to observe what currently exists and beginning to observe what could exist, as if it already does. This is how quantum transformation initiates. You're not pretending or being delusional. You're focusing intentionally. You're becoming the observer of an elevated pattern until that pattern stabilizes and materializes into physical form. Your old identity wants to constantly verify the facts of your current situation. It seeks to confirm fears, replay memories, and measure incremental progress. But your quantum self understands that the only authentic reality is what you emotionally stabilize within your consciousness. When you observe limitation, you amplify limitation. When you observe potential, you activate it. Here's the energetic transformation. Observation must become deliberate. Focus must become sacred practice. You weren't placed here to mindlessly witness what already exists. You're here to witness the invisible into physical manifestation. Each time you offer your complete presence to what you wish to experience, love, prosperity, harmony, vitality, and embody the emotional state of already possessing it, your attention becomes the activation key. Not hope, not wishful thinking, but the internal commitment to observe what the physical world hasn't yet reflected. This is the mastery of conscious creation, selecting what to perceive before it becomes visible, maintaining the frequency of your desired timeline before evidence appears. Not because you're delusional, but because the field responds to your observation, not your current conditions or circumstances. Here's the empowering truth. You don't need to eliminate every limiting thought. You only need to become more committed to your desired focus than your familiar fears. The quantum field doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. It needs alignment between what you choose to focus on and who you're becoming internally. But let's get practical about what this consistency actually looks like. It's not about maintaining perfect thoughts every moment of every day. That's impossible and unnecessary. Instead, it's about developing what quantum physicists call coherence, a state where your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are aligned and working together rather than contradicting each other. Think of coherence like tuning a radio. When you're perfectly tuned to a station, you get clear, strong reception. When you're slightly off, you get static and interference. Your consciousness works the same way. When your conscious desires, emotional state, and unconscious beliefs are all aligned, you have perfect coherence and the field responds quickly and clearly. When they're misaligned, you get mixed results or no results at all. Most people live in a state of incoherence without realizing it. They consciously want love, but unconsciously believe they're unworthy. They desire abundance, but emotionally vibrate with scarcity. They visualize success, but unconsciously expect failure. The quantum field receives these mixed signals and responds with mixed results. A little progress here, a setback there, just enough to keep them hoping, but not enough to create real transformation. Achieving coherence requires what I call quantum self-awareness. The ability to observe not just your conscious thoughts, but the entire spectrum of your inner experience. This includes your emotional undertones, your unconscious beliefs, your energetic state, and the quality of your attention itself. When you develop this level of awareness, you can begin to align all aspects of your consciousness toward a single desired outcome. The invitation is both simple and revolutionary. Begin monitoring your own focus as if it were a sacred navigation system. Interrupt the impulse to observe what you don't want. Withdraw your attention from stories that cause suffering. And with compassion, dedication, and practice, place your awareness where your soul is guiding you. Because what you choose to observe with genuine love inevitably becomes real. You were never simply positioned in this existence to passively watch events unfold. You came here to shape reality with your conscious presence. Many people continue believing they're waiting for something to shift, waiting for the career, the relationship, the health, the opportunity. But in the quantum realm, nothing moves until you observe it into motion. Nothing materializes until your consciousness instructs the field. This is what I choose to stabilize and make real. This is the pivotal moment when your identity transforms from someone reacting to reality to someone collapsing it into form. You're not merely watching this cosmic movie, you're directing it. You are simultaneously the lens, the light source, the screenplay, and the screen itself. Every time you focus attention on something with emotional investment, you're assigning it significance in the quantum field. You're not simply perceiving it, you're collapsing a wave of possibility into a particle of actual experience. This explains why certain patterns continuously repeat. You keep observing them, feeding them with focused attention, and the universe, being infinitely responsive, reflects them back again. This isn't cosmic punishment, it's precise mechanics. The quantum field isn't delivering what you deserve, it's delivering what you reinforce through observation, emotion, and identity. This is what makes you incredibly powerful, and why many people unconsciously perpetuate cycles they no longer desire. But here's the transformational shift. When you begin observing a new narrative, even before it physically exists, you start folding fresh possibilities into reality. Not because you forced them, but because you witnessed them with sufficient duration, clarity, and emotional coherence that they had no choice but to respond. This is the essence of quantum collapse. Possibility transforms into presence, and it occurs through your conscious participation. When you truly comprehend that your observation holds this magnitude of power, you stop delegating your transformation to external forces. You stop declaring, "When life provides me with peace, I'll feel peaceful," and start affirming, "When I observe peace within myself, life will mirror it back to me." Envision yourself observing two parallel realities. One timeline shows you still cycling through old emotions, still validating your limitations, still cataloging everything that hasn't worked. The other timeline already exists, where you've become the version of yourself who is liberated, joyful, abundant, and loved. Both timelines exist simultaneously in the quantum field, but only one materializes physically. The one you choose to observe with depth and unwavering devotion. This is what acting as if truly means. It's not pretending or self-deception. It's choosing to observe what isn't yet visible until it becomes manifest. You become the collapser when you stop reacting and start consciously deciding. When you examine your current circumstances and declare, "This isn't the complete picture. I choose to observe something greater," you claim creative authority over the field. As you persist, the gap between inner vision and outer reality diminishes. What you previously imagined becomes what you begin experiencing, because you observed it as truth before physical evidence existed. Here is your invitation. Begin observing your future self as if they're already present. Feel their energy signature. Visualize how they move, how they communicate what they believe. Hold that image in your heart as if it's already your current reflection. Because in a universe governed by observation, the most magnetic thing you can accomplish is to perceive clearly what others don't yet see and become that vision. There comes a moment, subtle yet profound, when you realize the universe isn't testing your worthiness, punishing your mistakes, or withholding blessings from you. It's simply responding to your energetic broadcast. The quantum field operates without emotion. It doesn't evaluate what you want and question whether you deserve it. It doesn't examine your history, your karmic debt, or your stated goals. It reads only one thing: your vibrational frequency. It mirrors that frequency faithfully and precisely every single time. This explains why life sometimes appears contradictory, because your conscious mind requests one experience while your energetic vibration broadcasts something entirely different. You might visualize financial abundance while vibrating with scarcity consciousness. You might affirm love while resonating with rejection fears. You might envision freedom while remaining emotionally attached to control, doubt, or competitive comparison. The field doesn't argue or analyze. It simply reflects back what you consistently embody energetically. It's not personal. It's purely vibrational mechanics. This represents the fundamental shift in understanding. Manifestation isn't about persuading the universe to grant your wishes. It's about calibrating your energy to match the version of yourself who already possesses what you desire. That version of you already exists. It's already active in the field of possibilities, but you cannot access it from a frequency that contradicts its essence. The field cannot deliver peaceful experiences through chaotic vibrations. It cannot provide feelings of worthiness through emotions of self-doubt. It's not because you're undeserving. It's because the vibrational frequencies simply don't align. So what's the solution? You stop focusing on manipulating outcomes and start cultivating your internal state. You begin the sacred practice of observing your own thoughts, not judging them, but becoming conscious of them. You tune into your emotional baseline, not just occasional feelings, but your habitual emotional state. Because it's your baseline that broadcasts the signal. It's the frequency you maintain when no one is observing that establishes the foundation for your reality. When you accept responsibility for your energetic output, everything transforms. You evolve from victim consciousness to creator consciousness. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What am I vibrating that's attracting this experience?" Not from guilt or self-blame, but from awareness and empowerment. The field serves as your mirror, but most people continuously attempt to change the reflection without altering what they're showing the mirror. They try to manifest increased income without healing their scarcity stories. They seek romantic love without becoming someone who feels genuinely lovable. They attempt to transform their external world without ever examining their internal landscape. And the field continues responding accordingly. Here's your moment of activation. Ask yourself immediately, what am I consistently observing? What am I emotionally repeating? What frequency am I living from? Not just during meditation, but throughout daily life. This isn't about achieving perfection. It's about maintaining consistency. It's about repeatedly choosing to return to the frequency of who you want to become until that frequency becomes natural, and then it becomes your reality. Take a moment right now to conduct what I call a reality audit. Throughout your typical day, what percentage of your attention is focused on problems versus possibilities? When you wake up, what's the first thing you observe? Your worries or your vision? When you're driving, are you rehearsing past conversations or imagining future successes? When you're going to sleep, are you reviewing what went wrong or appreciating what went right? This audit isn't meant to judge yourself, but to become aware of where your attention habitually goes. Most people are shocked to discover that 80 to 90% of their daily observation is focused on what they don't want, what isn't working, or what they're afraid might happen. Then they wonder why their reality doesn't change. But here's what's fascinating. The moment you become aware of these patterns, they begin to lose their automatic power over you. Awareness itself is a quantum tool. When you catch yourself observing limitation, you're no longer unconsciously feeding it energy. You've created a gap, a space where choice becomes possible. In that gap, you can ask yourself a quantum question. If I knew that whatever I observe with sustained emotional attention becomes my reality, what would I choose to focus on right now? This simple question can redirect your entire life because it reminds you that you're not a victim of your circumstances. You're the conscious creator of them. When you recognize the field's neutrality, you reclaim complete personal power. Because if it's not judging you, it's also not limiting you. There are no energetic gatekeepers, only energetic agreements. And you can renegotiate these agreements starting immediately. This understanding completely revolutionizes how you approach life challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this showing me about my current observation patterns?" Every experience becomes feedback about your consciousness, rather than evidence of external forces working against you. Let me share a profound realization that shifts everything. The universe isn't testing you to see if you're worthy of your dreams. It's not withholding your good to teach you lessons. It's simply and faithfully reflecting back the sum total of your conscious and unconscious observations. This means that every moment is an opportunity to redirect the course of your life by choosing what to observe. Consider how this applies to relationships. If you consistently observe people as untrustworthy, unreliable, or selfish, the quantum field will keep reflecting back experiences that confirm this observation. But if you begin observing people as fundamentally good, capable of growth, and deserving of love, you'll start attracting experiences that match this new observation. The same people might even begin showing up differently in your life, because you're literally calling forth different aspects of their nature through your observation. This principle applies to every area of life: health, finances, career, creativity. Your body responds to how you observe it. Money flows according to how you observe it. Opportunities appear based on how you observe the world around you. This isn't magical thinking. It's quantum mechanics applied to daily life. With every breath, every belief, every moment of conscious presence, you're casting votes into the quantum field. You're declaring, "This is my identity." And the universe responds, "Your wish is granted." Let this be your transformation. You don't need to earn your ideal life. You simply need to match its frequency. You need to broadcast it consistently. And you need to do so with the emotional authenticity of someone who already embodies it. This is why this moment is significant. This is your opportunity to stop reacting and start radiating, to stop pleading and start broadcasting, to stop explaining and start embodying. Because the field is perpetually listening and responding. If this message connects with you, affirm in the comments below, "I am choosing what to observe." Let the act of writing these words serve as a vibrational anchor, a signal to the universe that you are now viewing life through the lens of creation rather than reaction. Within you exists a space that remains unmoved by appearances and unshaken by circumstances. It's the aspect of you that simply observes without panic, without projection, without mental noise. This is the frequency of the silent observer, and it contains more power than any effort you've ever exerted. The silent observer doesn't attempt to manifest through force or pressure. It doesn't chase outcomes or resist the present moment. It understands something deeper. That reality reorganizes itself not through noise but through stillness, not through demanding but through witnessing with pure presence. In the quantum realm, everything exists as potential, a wave of infinite probabilities. But that wave doesn't collapse because you struggle or strain. It collapses when you observe with crystal clarity, when you perceive with unwavering certainty, when your presence becomes coherent with your desires. This explains why many people strive for years to create change yet feel like nothing shifts, because they're still observing their current life with resistance, still watching their fears more intensely than their future possibilities. The field obeys whatever lens you look through consistently. The power isn't contained in your spoken words. It's embedded in the frequency from which you observe. When you attune to the field as the silent observer, detached from panic, liberated from judgment, and anchored in faith, you become magnetically attractive. The things you previously chased begin moving toward you, not because you increased your efforts, but because you became more empty of noise and more full of pure being. This isn't passive. It's one of the most active disciplines you can cultivate. Witnessing your life without falling into the illusion that what you see represents the final outcome. Holding space for what wants to emerge even when there's no visible sign yet. Remaining centered while the world shifts around you. Because you're no longer waiting, you're aligning with what's already yours. The silent observer isn't disconnected, it's radically connected, but without the desperation that distorts the energetic signal. It watches from an elevated perspective with calm knowing that every scene continues unfolding, that nothing becomes fixed until you observe it with your soul's recognition. In this frequency, you remember, reality isn't a force external to you. It's an echo of your awareness. The more silent, certain, and coherent your awareness becomes, the clearer and more accurate the echo. How do you live from this elevated state? You begin by practicing pure presence. You train your nervous system to feel secure in uncertainty. You release the habit of constant mental analysis. You observe your thoughts like passing clouds, allowing them to move through without grasping or resisting. You breathe more deeply. You slow your pace. You return repeatedly to the part of you that simply sees with clarity. From that pure seeing, creation flows naturally. The world will continue offering distractions. Old patterns will attempt to reclaim your attention. The ego will whisper that you're not doing enough. But each time you return to the frequency of the silent observer, you restore perfect alignment. You remind the field who's leading this dance, and you witness life reorganizing itself to match your vibrational signature. This is the authentic source of power. You don't need to manipulate outcomes. You don't need to perform spiritual practices from anxiety or desperation. You simply need to observe with heart, with presence, with unshakable belief. Because in this frequency, you're no longer separate from what you seek. You become the field itself, awakening to its own creative nature. The moment you truly realize this, the wave collapses, the illusion dissolves, and the miracle manifests. Here's your final invitation. Release the need for external proof. Become the presence that naturally attracts what you desire. Release the striving and embody the frequency. Don't just visualize your dream life. Observe it from the space within you that knows it's already real and present. Because the silent observer doesn't create accidentally. It creates through coherence. It chooses what to watch with intention, and then watches that vision come alive. Let this be your signal, a fundamental shift in how you engage with your world, and an activation of the creator you have always been. Now, understanding the observer effect, is just the beginning. Most people struggle because they're still attached to their old identity, which keeps pulling them back into familiar patterns. In my video, Let Go of the Old You, Reality Shifts Instantly, I reveal the exact process for releasing these outdated versions of yourself so your new reality can emerge effortlessly. This is the missing piece that accelerates everything we've discussed today.